My name is Nadim Sammur. I graduated with my Bachelor's of Science in Industrial Engineering with a minor in African American Studies in May of 2020. So I'm pretty much working to generate learning and adoption materials for generative AI in my company. So I work at asset management, and that's pretty much what I primarily do for my work. But outside of that, I'm a public speaker and a plant-based chef. I have these 4 pillars of health that I believe that you have your spiritual, you have your physical, you have your mental, and then you have your financial health, which hence why I'm in asset management. And so I kind of speak on different topics that branch off of those 4 pillars. So anything from leveraging faith to overcome obstacles, or how to eat better, different tips and tricks about health when it comes to physical nature, but I also talk about the spiritual aspect as well. And then personal finance, like general investing principles, budgeting principles, credit principles, things of that nature. Being able to apply the different macro skill sets in varying different jobs. This is my second job. So my first job, I remember the first question they asked me in the interview was like, we think you're a great candidate, but how does your experience in industrial engineering tie into this role? And I was like, well, being able to analyze data, being able to communicate complex concepts, that all ties into this. And so I think being able to realize what the big picture is of IE, what you're really able to take away on a macro level, has been what's been the most critical for me to be able to apply and pivot into different industries. My first job was in healthcare. I was working with big pharma companies as a consultant, which is vastly different from working in technology, which is also vastly different from public speaking and cooking. But the skill sets I've been able to learn in industrial engineering have been applicable to all 4 of those areas of my life, and I've been able to translate in that way. So I say being able to take away the big picture concept was extremely helpful, but on a micro level, engineering psychology and human factors have played a major part. As I said, I create and craft learning and adoption materials. So part of what I had to do is, okay, I know that red has a specific effect on the brain when you're using that color to craft the X, Y, and Z material. So being able to understand what colors to use when creating learning and adoption materials, how to structure pages in a way that is visually appealing, and to where the readers of it will be able to extract the most value. So I would say, and then plus in my personal business with cooking and public speaking, how do I craft different modes of content, or my cookbooks that I made cookbooks. How do I design the cookbooks in a way that's most efficient and visually appealing to my end readers, that they'll get the most out of it. So on a micro level, I had to say definitely the engineering psychology has played a huge, huge role. While on a macro level, just being able to communicate and critical think and creatively critical think have been the biggest things that I've got from my IE degree that have helped shape my journey. I remember in December of 2015, I was riding home. I played basketball all throughout high school and college. We were riding home from a game. We had won, and I got the email on my phone that I got accepted to Purdue, and I'm like, oh my goodness, wow. I knew I wanted to do engineering. But I didn't do anything at the time because I had an opportunity. I lived in Dallas. It was either stay in Dallas and go to SMU or come to Purdue. And to be completely transparent, and this is going back a little bit further, I lost my mother when I was 16 years old. And so we had just moved to Dallas at that point after being raised in Ohio. I was fortunate enough that I had 2 uncles that stepped up to be my guardian at the time. And so I ended up staying with one, and the other one I was obviously still in close contact with. The one I ended up not staying with, 2 years later, he had passed away as well. And so when the pain of being in Texas for me was just so much, I was like, I had to leave. So staying in Texas at that point was no longer an option. And so I had SMU, I could have gone there, or I still had the opportunity for Purdue. And so I just chose Purdue because I just felt like just the pain of staying there was just too much for me to bear at that point, and I needed to escape. So I was essentially running from it, which ended up leading me to Purdue, which ended up being one of the paramount experiences of my life thus far. When it came to IE, when I was initially looking at SMU and Purdue, it was for civil engineering. I have a lot of people in my family that were architects, and so civil engineering kind of like runs in the blood, if you would say. But when I sat in the FYE seminar for it, I was like, this isn't it. No shame to anybody who is civil engineers, but for me, it wasn't it. And so I remember IE was the last seminar I attended. We had to attend 3. I'm not too sure if the FYE students still have to do that, but the 3rd seminar I ended up attending was the IE seminar, and that initially poked my interest. And I was explaining to the students today in the IE 200 seminar that Dr. Booth Womack, who is the coordinator of MEP, she sat down and talked to me about IE and how she thought it was going to be a good fit for me. And at that point, I was sold. Because even before civil engineering, I had an idea that I wanted to do both business and engineering, but I didn't know how to bring the 2 together. and I knew double majoring just was not an option for me. So being able to go into IE, seeing that I was able to get some business exposure, some engineering exposure, and then plus being able to kind of craft my life the way I wanted to instead of being so drilled down and focused like this is the only way I can go with this skill set, really is what drew me to IE.